This is Jennifer G.G. Ferguson here at KLA Ride Radio, 1180 AM. I'm going to be the host this morning as Natasha is at home with food poisoning, but she is going to be coming in and working with me this morning. And Tasha, are you on the line?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning, beautiful queen. Are you feeling
Good
better
morning.
this morning?
Oh, not at all. He is trying to get me, but nothing is going to stop me from talking about what we need to talk about this morning.
Talk about it, girl. Talk about it. You want to
Yes,
tell us a little bit about the young man we're getting ready to bring on?
yes. So we are going to have Tina Dixon on this morning, Valentino Dixon's daughter. He is a man that has been fighting a case in New York for over 2 decades now. He's been charged with murder, wrongfully accused. People saying that, excuse me, people are saying that, they did not see him at the spot. Tina, are you with us?
Yes,
I'm here
I am.
also, Natasha.
And my father is on the line with us.
Oh,
I called in.
good morning. I didn't
Good
think we were
morning.
going to
How
have
you
him
doing?
until. Well, Valentino, I'm going to let you tell the story.
Hey,
Okay, yes.
Valentino. Welcome.
Yes. Yeah, hi, thank you. Welcome.
I'm Gigi.
Hey, Gigi, how you doing?
I'm blessed and highly favored, and I'm so glad to have you on this morning. Talk to us. Tell
And
us about the injustice.
I'm glad to be able to share my story. Okay, I was at a night spot where people gather and they hang out and everything, and some guys rolled up and they started shooting, and some other guys returned fire. I ran and jumped in my car and drove off. Okay, a few hours later, I was picked up, and the police asked me was I at the scene, in which I did. I told them yes, and I happened to be out on bail at the time for weapons possession and a drug charge. Anyway, they took me downtown and charged me with murder. Okay, but what happened was this: within a couple of days, there was so many people out there that 7 people came forward and told them that I didn't do the crime. Okay, and the person that committed the crime, he felt so bad that he went and told the police that he was the one that did the crime. See, the guy that he killed, he had a gun, and they found his gun on the scene, and he explained to them that it was self-defense. Anyway, the police turned all of those people away, okay, told them they didn't believe their story. 10 months later, I went to trial, got found guilty because my lawyer didn't call any of those witnesses to the stand.
What?
Okay, and also one of the surviving victims who was critically wounded told him from his hospital bed that I didn't shoot him. Okay, and he never made it to trial. The lead detective that did all of this investigation, he never made it to trial. And the first officer on the scene that collected this evidence where this gun was found, she didn't make it to trial. None of these people came to my trial. Years later, I get the DA's witness list, and all of those people were on the DA's witness list, but the DA didn't call them and my lawyer didn't call them. Now, some 20-something years later, the same DA is claiming that he didn't even know about these witnesses. Okay, and the guy that's responsible for this crime, he ended up shooting and killing another guy a couple years later. So he's been in jail some 20-something years. Okay, he's confessed on several occasions that he committed this crime, and they still don't want to accept his confession. Here I am. I have 27 years in prison now on this crime. I have passed the polygraph test.
Wow.
What state are we talking about?
We're talking about New York State. This happened in Buffalo, New York. I mean, it's even much deeper than this. Let me explain to you, a little more. This is how crazy it is. Finally, after constantly writing, I done wrote hundreds and hundreds of letters, throughout the country to different people. Okay, so finally in 2004, the city newspaper in Buffalo, New York got involved. Okay, they didn't believe what I was telling them at first because I think for people this is something that's like hard to believe, but I'm able to show the paperwork. I have all the witnesses' statements, the sworn statements that were taken before my trial. I have the DA's witness list. Everything that I'm saying I can prove by documentation. So anyway, I provided this to the newspaper, and they went out and investigated. So they went to the jury foreman, and they asked the jury foreman, well, how did you guys find him guilty? And the jury foreman said, once they found me guilty, he felt so bad because he knew something wasn't right. So he went and knocked on the judge's door and asked the judge could he speak to him. And the judge allowed him to come in. He says, Your Honor, I don't feel right about this case. The DA didn't have a case. Tell me why his lawyer didn't call any of the witnesses. And see, the lawyer had promised the jury that he was going to call witnesses. Now, this is all on my trial record. In the middle of trial, he decides not to call witnesses. This is when I went into like a rage, and I told the judge that, he's, more than likely trying to set me up. I said, this is a conspiracy. All of these people, that can clear me this crime, and nobody's going to come in here and testify on my behalf, not one person. The judge told me to sit down, that my lawyer knew that, that he was what he was doing. I was only 21 years old at the time, so I went on and sat down because I still felt at that time that they couldn't convict me. There was nothing to convict me on. So anyway, long story short, the jury foreman tells the newspaper that the judge tells him, to go home and sleep well, not to worry about the verdict. And this is in 2004. Okay, this same judge is claiming that the jury foreman never came in his chambers. This is how deep the corruption is. In my case, it's not just, this is not an isolated case. This is happening to black men all over the country because in my 27 years of incarceration, I've ran across so many people that outrageous things have happened to them, and I'm fully convinced that the system is not designed or equipped to give, a poor person or a minority a fair trial. And that's just the reality of what's going on here.
Can I ask a quick question? Did
Yes,
you
you
have
can.
an attorney that you paid for, or was this an appointed attorney?
He was a public defender. In fact, he was a DA in that same office for 7 years, which I didn't know at the time. He totally sold me out. He totally threw the case for the prosecution. They did some type of underhanded deal. It's clear as day, and there's no way for them to get around it.
And the reason I asked that question is,
Yeah.
you're right. This is it's part of systemic racism. I see it
Right.
here even in Pierce County, where
Yes.
people know that our prosecutor does stuff like this, but they keep electing them to office because
Well, let,
some people feel as though they feel safer.
well, let me just say this: the public is so naive, and rightfully so, because the public believes once an arrest is made, that the police have to have it right. The DA must knows what he's doing. And this is why they're able to pull the wool over people's eyes. And there's no accountability. These judges is never held accountable.
Talk about it.
And then when the case goes to the federal court or the appellate level or the Court of Appeals, they just rubber stamp it. You see, everybody protects each other. This is how, people get 10, 20, 30 years in prison for something they didn't do. You ask yourself, why do it take so long? Because all of these courts rubber stamp the case, even when there's concrete evidence, even when you have sworn statements, even when the physical evidence shows that the prosecutor is totally wrong and there should have never been no charges brought about, these judges turn a blind eye.
Wow. So can I ask
Even when the
another
prosecutor
question
is
from you on this? Because, see, my mind is going because I'm running for U.S. Senate. So
Oh, wow.
I'm
Beautiful.
looking at parts in my mind of what's going on in our prison system, and part of my platform is prison reform. So
Right.
are you in a prison where you are doing manufacturing for companies?
Say it again now.
Are you in a prison where you are working for major manufacturers? They say private
right.
prisons.
Understand, right, it's big. Well, we know it's big business. Okay, they have an industry here, and they make metal products. Okay, but I've never worked in it because I've never wanted to dedicate my time 8 hours a day and make only 30-something cents an hour. See, New York State has the lowest prison wages completely, and some of the worst sentencing laws. So I've never put myself in a position to work in the industry. I'm an artist, so I spend my time drawing for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and I've been doing that for over 20-something years.
Okay, so
And anybody that want to see my artwork can go to ValentinoGallery.com.
that's spell Valentino for people, please.
Okay, VALENTINO. Gallery, GALLERY.
Now,
And
Or they
Valentino,
can
can
just
you? Oh, after you.
I
Oh,
was
okay.
just
Or
saying,
you can
can
just
people?
Google Valentino Dixon, and you'll be able to see the confessions that I spoke of and any of the other evidence that I spoke of. It's all online. In fact, the guy that's responsible for this crime, he's given 3 video confessions over the last 27 years,
Wow.
taking responsibility for what happened here. So all of that stuff is
Yes, he has.
online.
I read them. I read them. I have read so much about your
Right.
story. It is shocking to me, and it's
Wow.
crazy, and it's heartbreaking. Like I literally, like, I'm ready to cry right now just
Well,
because of
let
what
me
is going on and what has happened to you.
and I thank you for having the empathy, for me. But let me just say this, right? I know God is real, and God has protected me all of this time, and He uses me in here to enlighten these young kids about this system. I'm between two 19-year-olds that's going home next year. Both of them 19 years old. Now they shouldn't even be in a maximum facility anyway, but they're here and they're going home, on a 2 to 4 or 1 to 3 or whatever they gave them. But like I told them, the system is not happy until they come back with 10, 20, 30 years. They can give them 20, 30 years. So I stress to these guys to get out there and do the right thing and be an asset to the community and not a burden. Because the system, like I said, is not designed or equipped to give us a fair trial. And these judges, these
Right.
prosecutors, they don't care about anybody outside their group. This is what it appears. I mean, they giving away sentences like it's a Monopoly game.
Wow.
Right. And can you talk a little bit about the sentences that happened in New York State? I remember when we had talked, you had told me a little bit about that. How
Well,
basically if you're sentenced, or go ahead.
right. Well, the sentencing guidelines here is this. Uh, if they give you 30 years, you're going to do all 30 years. And then when you go to before the parole board refuses to release you. The parole board is hitting these guys, even after they do 30 years, they're giving them another 15 years on top of that. I know guys in here, a lot of guys with 40 years, 45 years in here, and they should have been home 20-something years ago. At least when you go to California or Texas, or Florida, if you get 30 years, then you have a chance to go home after 15 because they do a day
Right.
for day. In New York State, you have no type of incentive where you can go home early.
That's
It's
criminal.
just big business here. The parole board is corrupt. They refuse to let anybody go, and it's just a sad situation all the way around.
Mm,
That to
mm,
me,
mm.
that in itself is illegal.
Yeah, it's madness. It's not just it's not only just a constitutional right violation or a civil right violation. It's a human rights violation.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was partaking in a documentary 2 years ago called Breaking the Cycle. And these people came from Norway, Denmark, and I believe Finland. And they were investigating the mass incarceration in the U.S. Okay, and what they were telling me is that in Norway, no matter what type of crime a person commits, the most they can get is 21 years. Okay, and that they value rehabilitation over punishment.
Yes.
Mhm.
And they couldn't understand. When I explained my case to them, they just couldn't believe it. But God tests all of us. We all have our own tests that's put before us and our own challenges, and I know this is mine. And God lets me know every day that He has me, that He got my back, and He enlightens me every single day. And I
Right.
feel blessed. I don't know how I'm able to do this, but I know it's by His grace that I'm here right now talking to you.
Right. Right. And we are so thankful to have you with us this week and next week because it's so important that people realize what is going on out there and how these
Right.
systems are set up because none of them know. A lot of people
Right,
don't
I
know.
know.
And sometimes they
Well,
don't know because they don't want to know.
they're just
And
uninformed, right?
no, there's those who are uninformed,
Right.
those who don't want to deal with the truth and the facts.
Right.
And that's what I mean by they don't want to know.
Right.
And then
Mhm.
I,
you have those who are a part of that system and they are making money If they
That's
have all
right.
these prisoners and you're making 35 cents an hour, think of the
Let me.
millions the 1% are making on what you're making.
You're right about that. Let me just say this. This is how bad it is in New York State. They built so many prisons in New York State. They built some new prisons that's empty right now because they anticipated that people would have filled them up by now. So these prisons are empty. Brand new prisons in New York State that's empty because they anticipated they would have been full right now. Can you imagine that?
Mm,
That's crazy.
mm.
This is what they're doing with taxpayers' money. And on the other hand, you hear every day that they're laying off teachers or firemen. You know what I'm saying? But they constantly hiring correctional officers.
Right, right. It costs more now to house a prisoner than it does to send a child to college
Right.
for one
Yeah.
year.
In New York State, in New York State, it's $60,000 a year per inmate.
Right, that's almost a Harvard education.
Yeah. Right. Because
So
Harvard, I think, is believe 50. I read
have
50,000 a year.
have those private prisons sued New York State yet? Because I do know there are some states where the private prisons are suing the states for not giving them enough prisoners.
For not holding up to their contract.
Yes,
That is crazy. I'm not aware of it, but that is insane.
but it's happening.
Wow.
So that will give me some good research to do this week, and I'll bring an
Right.
update to the states that are doing that, because I want to say I believe New York is one of those states that have those contracts. And
Well,
I'll
I
be able
wouldn't
to
be
break that
surprised.
down some more next week.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I wouldn't be
Especially with them
surprised.
having prisoners, um, having two prisons, you said, that are empty.
Yeah, there's several prisons that's empty in New York State. And they actually have staff in the prison. While they were empty. I mean, that's imagine the electric bill, and you're paying people to be there, and there's nobody there for them to watch over.
Wow. Wow. Can
Yeah,
I ask your daughter, one, how old are you?
27.
So you
I'm
were
27.
born around the time that your father went to prison.
Yeah, it's um, crazy. I kind of actually grew up with my father in prison the whole entire time.
yeah. She was only 4 months old when they arrested me.
So can you talk to the people about what it feels like for you having a father in prison that everyone knows has been wrongfully convicted, and growing up with the stigma, or however, how has this affected you?
Essentially, it's you know,
This is hard for her.
yeah,
I know I could hear it in her voice. So
Yes.
Tina, let's talk about just how you've overcame, because what Tina's doing, like a lot of people don't know. Tina, tell us about where you go to school and the documentary that you guys just did right now involving your dad.
yeah. I went to Otterbein University and graduated, and through my studies and education, I've been, learning how to promote my father's story through social media. So we started a social media campaign, and Georgetown University actually um, partnered up with me and my father and our family and started to help with the social media campaign. They created a website for us, a documentary that is now on YouTube. If you search Georgetown University, it's on their page. Double Time is the name of the documentary. But yeah, I've just been fighting for my father in any way I can.
And I'm so proud of her. I mean, she graduated with a bachelor's degree. I'm hoping that she go get her master's,
Yeah.
and just for her to be able to accomplish that. I didn't know how hard it was for her during those years. I know I was there with her, but I wasn't there with her. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And when she graduated, she came to visit me, and she just ran across the visiting room, and I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, well, hold on, did somebody die? What's going on? And the whole visiting room just was silent, and she jumped in my arms. She said, Dad, I did it. I graduated. I did it. And in that moment, she just started crying so hard, and it made me realize, wow, this kid went through some stuff to make this happen, to make this a reality.
Yeah.
I didn't think she had it that hard, but she really had it hard, trying to, just trying to do things and pay for books and stuff. And I tried to help her out any way I could with my artwork, and it was a struggle, but she made it, and I'm so proud of her.
Yes.
Thank you, Dad.
Yes.
Yeah, I
You
think
have
the
every
Yeah.
hardest
reason
was
to
when
be.
I was younger, though, because I was ashamed to talk about it. It was, everybody else had their father in their life in some way, but whenever I brought it up, my father was in prison, and they're like, what? And I don't know, kids started to admire me as I got older because I would, talk about it and share a story and tell them how, my father is an innocent man. And I don't know, I guess as I got older, I felt more empowered by sharing our stories.
That's
And Tina,
awesome.
I can personally relate to what you're talking about. Even though my dad wasn't innocent, he committed the crimes. But I grew up with the father in prison, and it's still, yes, I was hurt as a child. But the older I got and the more that I realized, you know what I'm saying, even with this going on in my life, nothing can still stop me from becoming great.
Right.
And Tina, I'm getting emotional, but I just want you to know that I commend you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It means the world to me, being able to even share this story with everyone.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it definitely means the world to me too. This just made my day. Is is there any way that we can listen to this online or anything, or I can send some friends to listen to this interview?
Yeah, I can definitely, after the show, I can have it posted on streettalkradioshow.com. Give me
Okay.
probably till the end of the day. I'll get that posted. But, Valentino, am I able to send this to you in a disc as well?
No, we can't get anything like that.
I
I'll
can't,
I'll
okay.
I'll get it. I'll get it when I get out of here. I believe God is gonna open these doors for me, and
Yeah.
He
I'll be
is.
able to have it when I get out.
He
And
is, but I'll definitely get it posted to the website, and I'll also
Okay.
even get it on YouTube. But I'll get Tina all the links. That way she can make sure
Okay.
she tells you where to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
and I am going to get this on my website,
Okay.
which is ggforsenate.us, as well
Okay.
as I'm going to attach this, Natasha, to the link that you created for this show,
Right.
and then I'm going to push it across our state. And
Okay.
so we're going to get this out for you.
Yes,
Thank
because
you.
it
Beautiful.
needs to be
Gigi,
heard.
I appreciate it, Gigi. Where you were in Washington? You said.
Yes, Washington State,
Oh, okay. So are you running for the state senate?
United States Senate.
Oh, U.S. Senate. Oh, U.S. Senate. That's big time.
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. That's big time there. Wow.
I'm
And when are
tired
you
of the
gonna?
injustice. And
I,
that's part of what I've been saying. I'm tired of the injustice.
right.
Good.
Wow.
We
I
need
don't.
a change.
I loved Obama. I love President Obama, but I was upset that he didn't do anything about the mass incarceration. I know he gave out some clemencies and everything, but that just helped a few hundred federal prisoners or whatever, 1,000 or whatever he gave out. I just thought across the board by him being a Harvard graduate that he would have put a bill before Congress that would either reduce the sentencing laws or just make it, to give people a second chance at life. Because what it is sentencing laws is very harsh. You're not giving us a fair trial as minorities. if the system is not equipped to give us a fair trial. Then you want to give these, people all of this time, and it's just outrageous.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I learned of something this morning, Tasha. My husband was looking at something yesterday where one of the police officers had killed a man. And somehow the family and attorneys changed it to a civil rights lawsuit and took it to the next level. And the
Wow.
judge somehow wrapped the murder charge into it and told the man, you weren't afraid for your life. The man was
You have
crawling
one
away
minute
from
left.
you. 20 years.
Wow.
So, there's hope. There's hope.
Yes. And I
And
believe that also. Okay. I only have less than a minute left, so y'all can continue on, and I gotta go, and hopefully we'll talk again next week.
Yes, Valentino, please tell them again where they can find your stuff.
Okay, you can Google Valentino Dixon, Valentino Dixon. Just Google Valentino Dixon. Everything of mine will pop up. All the interviews and everything.
And if they go to valentinodixon.net, they'll see all the trial information and facts about the case.
Yes, lots
Okay, I'm getting cut off. I'm about to get cut off. All right, I love everybody.
I'll talk to you next week, King.
I'll hopefully talk to you soon. All right, because I'm about to get cut off. Thanks for everything.
Right.
Have a good day, everybody. Okay, bye-bye.
this is KLAY Radio. We've
Thank
just
you
had
for using
Valentino
Securus.
Dixon and
Goodbye.
his daughter. And we just want to thank you for joining in. Please tell your friends to join in next week at KLAY1180.com or KLAY1180. 1180.